player on the table when it comes to playing final tables in the tournament format.
We got an all-in.
Ooh, this is
double suited. Jattin.
How much was the all-in?
Oh.
So we saw a pot size open by Jattin, and Jason on the button moves in. This is not an official raise, or it's not even a raise at all. It's just a call, all in. So basically, the action will not be reopened. Bryce can just call, and most likely this pot, because there's no side pot.
Well, Bryce can raise because Bryce
could
active.
raise.
Right,
sorry.
Jattin cannot.
Exactly. So Bryce gets a good price to continue here. Makes a call, pretty standard so far.
20,000 on the side.
I'd say the move in on the button is a bit of a, you can say, theoretical mistake. You still want to play big cards and big pairs when it comes to short, shallow stack sizes in PLO. But at the same time, if you look at the equities,
I was going to say, even if Yockey's out of there, it's pretty. They're probably pretty close, right? He's got live cards at least.
It looks worse than it is in theory right now, just because these guys are sharing cards.
Well, it looks worse now.
Well, there are 2 hearts on board.
Right, but Yockey's got the 6 and the 4.
There is a chance that Yockey will fold.
That's a good point, right? If we can get Yockey out of there, then Berilgen's looking a lot better.
What's interesting about short stacks is that the deep stack players on the table, especially Jattin in this case, who has position on the second chip leader, he doesn't necessarily want the shortest stack player to bust, because given how short Jason is, it allows Jattin to just open so many hands pre-flop. So it's actually kind of interesting to just start betting the flop here, and even if he loses, it's not the end of the world at all.
Jattin's going to bet. Just a little bit. And what do you, and well, Yockey's going to stick around, then I got to, if you're Berilgen, you're a little bit worried, right?
Yeah, the bet size is a bit odd. Goes for a 20% bet size, very small.
Well, hold on. Berilgen just went from 5% equity to 22% equity, as he does pick up a little bit of a straight draw there. 2.3 million in the pot. The only person in the room rooting for Berilgen, and maybe at home, are his wife, his 2 daughters, and him. Everybody else wants to ladder up.
I'm not sure what Jattin is trying to accomplish if he would decide to bet. Is he trying to make a better hand fold, like a 10? Or an ace, king, ace, queen type of hand?
He's going to continue betting here. Not a, oh, a little bit larger this time, right?
35,000.
His bet on the flop was, actually no, it's smaller. 335,000 now.
I don't really see what this accomplishes, because as you can see, Bryce is kind of at the bottom of his range, but he's still going to call. So I guess he's going to generate some value out of this hand. It's really unfortunate for Jason actually on the button, because the hand that he really wants to get out here is still in.
Another ace.
Wouldn't have made a difference.
No, and Jattin's ace does hold. Big part of PLO. If you are new to the game, you must play 2 cards in your hand. So Jattin does not have a full house, but trip aces certainly good enough to win the hand and eliminate Jason Berilgen. There's a sizable side pot. Whoa.
Yep.
Oh, wow. This is...
And
Okay, we're going to have to unwrap that in a second.
The intensity of playing a final table is very high, and when someone wins hand after hand, you might start creating all sorts of narrative in your mind. This guy is bluffing every hand, or he plays every hand, but the reality is he picked up a lot of good hands and all his opponents didn't. It can really change the way you think about how your opponent's strategy plays out.
Blinds are up. You can see in the top left corner of your screen. That is brought to you by Monkey Tilt, Daily Fantasy Sports. 100K, 200K with a 200K big blind ante. And as you can see, Sadhu in the picture right now on under 2 million now. So just under 10 big blinds. Yockey starting to really put this distance between him and Jattin, who's in second place. We do have an all-in. And Yockey a slight favorite.
Understandable spot for Sadhu to take. He did flop a pair. less than pot left.
Ace
The
jack
money
nine
goes
six.
in.
Yockey has
flipping.
18
Yeah,
outs.
he's got a pair of 10, 8, 4, 5.
So Sadhu technically ahead right now, but is a dog to
I have a
Yockey.
flush draw. Yeah, I didn't mention that.
So the action
New Jersey native.
that puts Bryce in front here with a 9.
Yep, Yockey now with a pair of 9s. And suddenly 72% of the time, Sadhu will be out the door. Deuce of clubs, a blank. And Sadhu has been eliminated.
So Schwartz has a rundown. This is typically when you play 100 big blind PLO or raise on the button. But at this stack size, it's much smarter to limp. And this is, I think he did limp, which is a great play. And Yockey has 3 high cards in the chip lead. It's time to raise and force out the big blind. Play a bigger pot with the ace queen 10-5.
He is taking your cue, and he's going to bump it up to 800,000. Jattin out of the way.
Jattin is happy. He wants to see those guys go all in. And Schwartz limped with the intention of limp calling. So it's in position. He has a playable hand. Got to see a flop.
Once again, Zachary Schwartz, 38 years old. Went to University of Connecticut. He's a cybersecurity sales director, not married. Plays a lot of basketball in his spare time. His biggest cash before today, 160,000. And he's already guaranteed here 283,000 as we look at this 9-high flop.
This is what you're looking for in Schwartz's shoes. He has flopped a pair and a wrap. That being said, there's 2 men in the middle. Yockey has a nut gut shot and 3 overcards. It's a bit of a tricky spot. He might pot and just put this in. But on the other side, you have to ask yourself, what is Schwartz limp calling? It should be something that connects with a 9-high, 10-high board very well. Hands like Jack 10-9-8, 10-9-8-7. Those kinds of hands are exactly the hands you want to limp on the button and they call a raise with. So he reads into that and knows this is not his board.
Action on Schwartz, indicated by the border around his name.
Schwartz doesn't have a strong enough hand to check back or bet small, in my mind. He has 3.5 million behind. There's 2 million in the middle. It's time to pot and take down those 2 million in the middle. They're worth a lot at this point.
So his hand's good, but not good enough to get cute.
Exactly. If you had a hand like Jack 10-9-9, go for a quarter pot. See how you can make your opponent call. But at the end of the day, he only has 1 pair here.
He's not going to go pot. In fact, he goes less than half pot. 700,000 into 2 million.
I mean, that looks even scarier than pot probably to Yockey, and he only has a gutter, and he has to think that against the value range, he's in big trouble because he probably shares a lot of outs with Schwartz, but Schwartz might have a hand like Jack 10-9-8, for example, where he has 2 pair and an open-ended straight draw. And so even though it looks like an enticing price, I think in reality, this hits the range so well of Schwartz. And even if Yockey hits an ace, is that ace going to be good against some of the best hands Schwartz could have? So there are some reverse implied odds here as well at play.
Bryce trying to decide what to do here. Does make the call. The price just too good for him. He does toss in the 700,000, 3.4 million in there.
The Jack is the money card.
Oh, yeah. Right, and if he just jams the flop, the hand's over. He's got 5.5 million chips when we move all in. He moves all in. There's a snap call. Cards on their back. And we essentially have a coin flip for Zachary Schwartz's tournament. Yockey has 19 outs. He is behind right now.
I have ace queen 10-5 with hearts, and he has 10-8-7-6.
This is heat check number 2.
Yeah.
Pot is 8.9 million. If Schwartz wins
He's a
this,
pair and a
he
rout.
will
He's
vault
a
ahead of Jattin.
But not by a lot. Ace queen jack, ace queen jack, ace queen jack, 4 heart. No 10. He makes a straight.
If Yockey wins, we're heads up.
Ace queen 10.
It's the 8 of hearts. It's the river, heart. Yockey makes the flush. Trip 8s for Schwartz, not enough as he is out in 3rd place. Takes home $283,000.
Heads up between Bryce Yockey and Farid Jattin.
It doesn't usually work out this way, but this is one of the rare times where the player who came into the final table, 5th in chips, exited in 5th. The player who had 4th, exited in 4th, and so on. Now the only difference here is Jattin came in with the chip lead, and Bryce was just behind him. And Jattin's has a lot of work to do to get himself back in this one, as you can see. Bryce with an enormous chip lead right now.
Raise to 900.
He's going to raise.
I mean, is he committing himself? I don't think he can fold this now, right?
No,
Just put
he's committed, but it's a bit
All
like you
in.
could just limp this hand. But now we're here.
Queen 10, 4-3, and he is going for it.
With ace 10, 8-6 in clubs.
He's in
against queen 10, 4-3 in
56-43. He's still got 43% equity.
spades.
Sure.
Ace 10,
But this is
8-6
it.
against queen 10, 4-3 in spades.
I didn't think Jattin was going to go with this hand, but he decided to go with it. Just figured, hey, I got to make something happen. If Bryce Yockey's hand holds up, and it will 56% of the time,
Going to $1.50.
he'll win his second bracelet.
Yeah, it's ace 10, 8-6 clubs against queen 10, 4-3 with spades. Sounds great, but we only have like 60%.
It's like a computer.
He's queen 10, 4-3 with spades. Huh? I have ace 10, 8-6 with clubs.
There we go.
5-3 deuce. Wow, pair and a straight draw.
Ugh.
And suddenly Jattin is a huge favorite. So Yockey went from being a favorite to now being a big dog. And if Jattin does double up, he'll be back up to 5 million chips. Oh, it turns
my
an 8.
God.
And now suddenly Yockey in the lead. Yockey possibly 1 card away from winning bracelet number 2. Jattin's out to the top of the screen. And it's over. The Jack of Diamonds on the river seals it. Bryce Yockey now 9-1 in heads-up matches.